Hi. Happy Sunday, guys. How are you? Great evening. Happy Sunday. Welcome to Survivor's Jewels. Hey. Hi, everybody. Hi, B More. Hi, I am Mr. Wolf. Bahana Marketing. Premium Styling. Live Happy. Nadori Fit. How is everybody this Sunday evening? Hey, Sheldon. How are you? And hey, Chuck. And oh, you're superb. I love to hear it. I love to hear it. That's what we love to hear. Happy Sunday, Premium Styling. All right. Hey, Chuck. So we're just waiting for our guest to come on the line. Hi, Tish. And when she comes on, I'm so excited to bring you her story. It's another inspirational story, of course. And we'll see how she was able to deal with insurmountable odds and come out into greatness. So I'm so excited for our guest to come on. So when hi De'Ara, how are you? Hey Britt. Hey. When she's on, then we'll be able to really get into her story, which is a very amazing story of courage, especially with all that she's had to deal with, and then still be able to thrive. So awesome. She is here, our guest of honor. Hi, Diane. Hi, Styles by Nook. I am so excited for you to come on the line. So if you just press join in into the to the live, then we'll be able to start. Oh, thank you, Britt. Hey, Juliana. Hey, Dia. And hey, Diana. Oh, awesome. Perfect. Hey, Jasmine. Let's start. Okay, we're just waiting to be connected. I'm so excited.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, awesome. I'm telling you, you came in on a good note, because every time I've had problems with Instagram Live, but not today. Not today. Not today.
Not today,
this is a good sign. Yeah. So how are you? How are you this Sunday?
I'm doing good. Sunday's my favorite day, so
yes, definitely a day to try to rest and relax a little bit. Well, I have read your bio.
Okay.
I know a little bit about how amazing you are, but I'd love for you to please introduce yourself, and to give us. That's okay. Let's get a little bit. I know that this kind of cuts you off a little.
Yeah.
So, hi Kiana. Hi Beauty Rebel. Hey J Bill. There's so many Hey Pixel. So hey new mama, Mamina. And so I'm just saying hi to our guests that are on the line. I'm sure a lot of them are your friends too, and fans. So tell us a little bit about who you are, and tell me about what you do, and basically a little bit of an introduction of what your name is, what you do, and some of the services that you offer, because I know that I read that bio. You are.
I do a lot.
You are outstanding. Yes, you do a lot. So yes, please grace us with that.
Okay, my name is Nook. I am first a hairstylist amongst many other things, but I'm also a mom and a wife as well. But I own a hair salon in Conyers. That's in Georgia for everybody else who doesn't know what that means. So I'm in Georgia, and I have my own product line. And I have my own little girl gang, Nook Nation. And I do a lot of things. I wrote an ebook for new businesses. What haven't I done? I've done a lot. When you put me on the spot, I'm like, what have I done? But
I think know, right?
It was like,
let's go over this long list of things that you've done, because you've done a lot. And I mean, just to have a product line, to have a salon, you have the Nook Nation is phenomenal. You have a growing brand and a strong following, because you're offering quality and value. But that all came at a kind of like a cost, in essence, because you had to go through some things in order to get to Nook Nation, right?
Right.
There had to be some trials and tribulations that you had to to go through in order to see that the greatness that was within you in order to birth, Nook Nation as well as your brand.
Right.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about, I know this is definitely a survival story. You have been through so much, especially with having two drug addicted parents. Is that so? So tell us a little bit about how it affected you as a child, being having to deal with that, or as a teenager, at growing up in general. How has this made an impact on your life, having to have that two drug addicted parents, your parents that are supposed to be directing you in life, and now you're in essence having to take the other opposite role as a parent, in essence. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, this is something a lot of people, even some of the people who follow me, may not know. It's not something, I always just broadcast. My mother is on Instagram, so I always have to tread a little lightly because the goal is never to, hurt anybody's feelings or bring up the past or anything like that. But I also think it's important to talk about because sometimes they don't even realize how much it affects, their children. They're just living, it was back in the 80s. So they were just kind of doing their thing. A lot of people, just really don't have a clue what that was like growing up. But yeah, it was kind of rough. Hey, Nicole, my mom, hers was alcohol for the most part. And there were some drugs in there, back in the 80s. And I don't judge. I'm not upset with her. It is what it is. It was popular back then growing up, in the hood where there was just drugs everywhere.
Right.
So
I mean,
no big deal.
It wasn't, because back in the 80s, back in the 90s, that was when the crack epidemic really kind of popped off, and so it was a wave of that. I mean, I'm from that era too. So, I mean, so I remember how that was. And it was, we're talking about New Jack City in essence, right? Whoever made money, and whoever did not, and whoever got addicted. And this was pumped into certain communities, correct? So because this was pumped into communities for a purpose, and so it completed its purpose in essence, but more so because it kind of I'm not even going to get into that part of how that happened, but just to say that this was an epidemic that struck very hard the African American community in itself, and it was targeted for that. And so you're right. And so now you have, and there's a reason why there were liquor stores on every corner, and in the hood there were these drugs were easily able to be found. They were placed in essence, and kind of in my opinion. So, and not even my opinion, it's just the facts. You could look it up, So now you have two parents that have fell victim to this system in essence, kind of. That's what it seems as though this was pushed in. This was crack wasn't what it was, what we thought it was going to be in essence for a lot of people. It changed lives, and it changed lives. It tore families apart. And so now you had to deal with the aftermath of this crack, alcohol, drug epidemic as a child, and you're living through this. So tell me, so I want to kind of set the stage for people who did not understand
it was
that.
real.
It was real back in the day. This was what life was about. You have to deal with these types of elements.
Yeah, when people have addictions, they do whatever to get high.
Exactly.
Let me say that. They do whatever to get high, and sometimes they don't even realize, the mistakes that they're making and the choices that they're making, how it affects the children. Because when you have a mom who, now, just to go back a little bit, I don't have any memory of my mom and my dad being together, like zero memory. I saw a picture. So I know they existed in the same room once. But,
right.
My mom was like in college, and my dad was in the leagues playing ball. And I know his story was, he was like a legend in my town back home in Philly. My dad was like a legend. Okay. And even when I went to high school, everybody was like, you Greg Lemon's daughter, you Greg Lemon's daughter. And I'm like, what does that mean? Because all I knew was him on drugs. So I'm like, what does that mean? But they was like, your dad was a legend. So when I was old enough to really have the conversation with him, he was in jail most of my childhood. Let's just put it like that. If he was out, he was high or on the run.
Okay.
That's it. Of course, they get clean from time to time, but it's short lived. And then he's back off to jail. So I was the kid visiting, the prison every weekend. So when he did have a clean moment and I asked him about it, he said that, one day in college, he played for Wichita State. So in Kansas. So one night after, winning a couple of victories, I don't know if it was a championship. I don't know how big of a deal it was. But the guys in the locker room decided, let's get high. And my dad was, probably 20. And he decided to try it. And that's how he got started. So, of course, me being born in the midst of all that, my mom started getting high too, because that's just what people do when it was Bobby and Whitney type stuff,
Okay, gotcha.
They just did it together. But my mom really preferred alcohol. You know what I mean? That was her thing. So, of course, you can't stay in no relationship like that. It's fighting, it's bickering, it's back and forth. And my dad, like I said, he was in and out of jail. So he was out the picture. So I grew up with my siblings' dad. He entered the picture later on. And, it was kind of crazy because, this isn't my dad. But, of course, he's getting high, too. Because that's just what
right. If one's doing it, it's hard for the other not to, right?
So then that enters domestic abuse because, of course, he was putting his hands on my mother on a regular basis. Some days I felt like she deserved it because she was so drunk,
You know what?
Sometimes I would just look at her not like, you deserve to get hit now. Like, I don't believe you just
No, but I understand.
But she
right from a child's perspective, exactly.
She would push him.
Right, from a child's perspective.
Okay, well, yeah, from a child's perspective, like there's consequences. You can't say that to a person and they don't get upset with you.
Right.
Well, my mom would be so drunk, she would hit him first, and then it was over. So
Gotcha.
I was the oldest, so I saw it the most, and I kind of got used to seeing it. But the results of that was now I'm living in a house with this new man. My mom ended up having 3 children by him, which are my siblings. So, I was kind of the odd man out. Like, this ain't even my daddy, but he in here getting high and doing the most. But
now, did he take a proactive role for you to a degree or no?
You can't be proactive in anything when you high.
I love that you said it. Exactly.
There's no proactive. He wasn't proactive for them. So
gotcha.
And again, like I said, I have to be sensitive with my words because my siblings or my parents, anybody on here watching, but because of that,
right.
When you're getting high and you're just trying to get some money to get high, you let people in and out the house.
Right.
So long story short, that led to me being abused by other people coming in and out the house. And when you have adults, who's there for you to say, hey, mom, this is what's happening to me. Not happened, but happening, to me. And she's so out of it. It didn't even register what I was saying. You know what I mean? And there was never a time to catch her sober, to tell her. She was always drunk. And this was my siblings' father's people. So I couldn't go to him. Those are his people.
Now, how were you able to stay motivated through this time?
Because
you passed this by, and that's this is a hurt. This is a true hurt because it's an abandonment in essence, right?
Facts.
But you've taken this same energy and you have transformed it into your own tribe. Exactly.
You got to.
And you've done that. So it's kind of like, how did you stay motivated? Because I know you probably had some pockets of just despair, period. But there has to have been something that kind of kept pushing you forward.
But I probably had to be like 6 or 7.
Okay.
There's no staying motivated when you're at that age. You just staying quiet. You just kind of staying quiet about it because you're like, the person who should care and the person that I'm talking to and telling doesn't even believe me. So once, you hit that brick wall, you just learn to internalize it. So I never really, got through it, especially when, he was finished with me. He moved on to my sister. This is my baby. So
Okay.
It kind of sucks when you can't protect, your family. But I just, the only way I could get out of the situation was to keep telling my grandma. So I would tell my grandma and just say, I don't like being here. I don't like being here. And she'd be like, what's wrong, baby? But I wouldn't say exactly what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I would just hint around to it because, again, I was young. So I hinted around enough, and I just found ways to like go to people house in the neighborhood just to kind of get away from it. So I was always like faking friendships with people.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
can I come over to your house
Mhm.
to watch a movie or to do
Right.
such and such, just to get away from it? But we had a next door neighbor, Miss Darlene. I remember her. She passed away now, but she was literally, and if you lived in the hood and in Philly, like the doors are like right next to each other. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure she heard the beating and the
Mm-hmm.
screaming and the hollering. So as the oldest, I would just go next door and just say, can I sit over here? Can I bring my siblings over here? So she was used to that, and she would feed us. And so I would try to tell her like how bad it was. So she ended up calling. It up north is children and youth. I think it's DFACS here.
Mm-hmm.
She ended up calling anonymously to report it. And then she said, you need to make sure your grandmother knows everything going on too. So I was like, okay. So I made sure I told my grandmama about it. And she believed me right away. Um, and next thing I know, we were removed. So that's how I got out of it. So there was 4 of us. There was 2 girls and 2 boys. So me and my 2 sisters, we went with that same grandmother. And then my 2 brothers, they went with their grandmother, which is the guy who was living with us, his parents.
Mm-hmm.
So from like age 8, I lived with my grandmother, me and my sister. So literally same community, same neighborhood. Like we both, like my brothers went around the corner to their grandparents. I literally went around the corner to my grandparents. So it was like we kind of grew up for the majority of our lives, not even together, but we were with grandparents. So it's cool. You getting home cooked meals and love and all that good stuff. Sorry, I'm getting choked up here.
You are so strong. You are so, I'm crying over, I'm like, because this is so powerful, and I feel
Yeah.
you. I feel this. I feel the energy. I feel the pain of what you had
Yeah.
to go through, and it just shows how you were the perseverance within you, the
Mm-hmm.
strength within you, for you to be able to even now tell this story, and to share this with somebody who actually is going to need it. I know there's
Right.
somebody here who's listening, who's on Instagram Live, who needs your story,
Right.
because you are a testament of strength, a testament of perseverance. The fact that you were able to go through insurmountable odds and still come out gorgeous. Okay, I'm looking at you like, where she's been, what,
That's
how?
true.
Because, and that's the thing, you don't know what a person's been through
Right.
because you don't look like what you've been through,
Nope.
and that is the blessing
That's
too.
God.
That's
ain't
God's
nothing,
grace.
that ain't nothing
Exactly.
Jehovah God. But yeah, that's why I said
Mhm.
parents, when they and today maybe it's not crack cocaine, maybe it's not alcohol, but these new moms who just want to get high, smoke hookah, do weed. I got to be careful. Your children need you undivided. You
Right.
know, and when they're trying to tell you something, listen. You know.
Mhm.
So even though I was removed from the situation and safe, you know, my dad's still in and out of prison, in and out of crack houses. Like there was times, we had to go look for him.
Mm.
Uh, so it sucked, but he's clean now. My mom, not so much. But when a person, that's what they want to do. That's just what they want to do. You can't force a person to get clean. And it sucks because my mom has never really seen any of my businesses. She's never seen my salon, nothing. She's never used any of my shampoos.
Mhm. Mhm.
It is what it is, right?
Right. No, and I can understand, and I can understand that is a level of pain that
Yeah.
parents have to be vigilant that they are bringing upon their children. And even especially, now in 2020, when a lot of uh, same uh, these same vices are available, right? We still have drugs, we still have alcohol, we still have these different vices for people. And
Right.
especially with COVID going on and all of that, it's easy to ask to make that
Right.
choice to say, I'm going to try this because I'm bored or whatever the case may be. Your tale is even more of a cautionary tale
Yeah.
to tell people, hey, don't do it. It's not, look at the damage, the long-standing damage that it would do to your family.
Right.
And it's what's the worth of it when it comes down to you having to tell this type of story.
Right.
And of course, again, this is all part of God's plan for you.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, who wants to go through that? No child should have to go through
No,
what you went through at all, period.
never,
No,
never.
never. But I'm telling you, you have went through the fire in order
Mm-hmm.
to become who you are. It's come
Right.
to polish you into
Yeah.
to the form of where you're at now. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
looking at you and looking at all that you've accomplished, it is you're amazing. But you're amazing to the point of you're amazing because you have built this foundation strong. This is not a foundation built on sand. You are strong in your foundation, all that you've done because of all of the levels that you've had to come
Yeah.
through to get to where you're at. This is all levels for you. I mean, my
It
goodness, it's
is.
like,
It is.
you
And
had
I
to
hate
build this from the mud, in
and I hate
essence.
that it's, the Black woman's story. You know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
so cliche, that a lot of Black women, as children have been abused, molested, raped, whatever the case may be, or even like mentally or emotionally, it's all the same. And I just hate that that's the story we have to
Right.
tell. And then people say, "Oh, you're so strong." No, no, I'm not.
I
I
don't want
can't
to be
talk about it.
strong.
I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
be strong.
Right.
I don't want to have
Right.
to get on live and tell
Mm-hmm.
these kind of stories. You know?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think that, being feeling unprotected is that story. Having no one to really come and
Right.
to run to, in essence, that
Right.
looks at our value as something that has to be protected, right?
Right.
And but there is so much value that is given. There's so
Yeah.
much value that you provide. I'm just thankful that you're here telling
Yeah.
this story
Sorry.
today, giving hope.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm here, like, I understand, because your story is so touching. It's so moving. It's no way in the world anybody listening to this could not be tearing or feeling the passion that you have that your of your story. I mean, your
Yeah.
story is just something that so many people have been going through and have went through. It's not something uncommon. I mean,
Right.
but it's time to change. Like Premium Stylin said, look at this, just right on time. We have to change the narrative. I was just
Right.
about to say that. And
Right.
definitely you have done that. Thank you, Premium Styling. And she was one of your you having a comment. It starts from the beginning and people need to
Yeah.
hear it. And
Yeah.
Ava the Diva, she said, this is so powerful because you know what? It is powerful. Somebody needed this today to heal. They
Yeah.
needed you to release this for them to be able to release something within them.
And it's the
So
worst part is not ever getting the apology. You never get
right,
that
right,
because to apologize, you have to even know you're wrong. And
correct.
I was telling somebody this the other day. I think it was my assistant. We were just kind of talking about just the whole, having parents who did their own thing. It's crazy because my mom and sometimes my dad too. It just depends on who they talking to. They still don't realize. They still don't have a clue. And sometimes they even go as far as to make excuses for the behavior. Or um, if you talk to my mom, she would say something like, "Oh, I gave you a good life. I gave you to your grandmother to let her raise you." And you're just kind of like, "Oh, that's the story we telling?" Like, that's the narrative. And it's like, it just makes her feel better. She will literally tell people, "Oh, I gave my kids the best life. I
Mhm.
was, I had my issues, but, look how well my kids are doing." So when she sees the stuff that I'm doing, she takes the credit for it, which is crazy. She'll say, "Oh, look at my daughter. Look at all the stuff she's done. I gave her the best life." And it's kind of like, that's what those drugs and alcohol do, she really felt like she did just fine as a parent. So you never get the apology because my mom like, well, look how well you turned out. It made you
Right.
stronger.
Right. And
It's just
and
like,
I would say,
okay.
right, and I would say this for our parents, and I mean a little bit of background too about me. I've been out on my own since 13.
Wow.
So yes, so I understand about parents not having that disconnect, right?
Hmm.
Not to this extent, but just a
Yeah.
disconnect. Being
A
out on your
disconnect
own,
is a disconnect.
it is a disconnect, and so what I realized over time is that people are people. And
Hmm.
it doesn't matter if they're a parent or they're whoever, but we look at, because they're our parents, we put them on a pedestal. But at
Yeah.
some point we have to realize that they are just people. Okay, people trying to navigate through life. And that's when you realize that the apology is not something that is needed, because they can't if they can't
Or
understand
they
it, you
say,
can't
I
hold them
was sick.
accountable.
Yeah, I was
You
sick.
know?
They
Right,
kind of hide behind that word,
right. Because
Oh,
people, because
it's a sickness. And it's just like, okay,
mhm,
if that makes you feel better, but
right.
you had opportunities and you have gotten clean, but you chose to go back. People survive drugs and alcohol every day. You are no different. So, it's kind of like I said, you just never get that. I
Right.
understand. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
It's always just like a different kind of story they tell, to make it seem like, because you turned out okay, it
Hmm.
wasn't that bad. you know
Right. Right.
in
And
the
that's frustrating, I'm sure. That just
it,
that whole feeling has to be,
it's
that
very,
especially when you've done so much,
mhm.
alone, you
And
know.
then as a plot twist, some people know this about me, but I think majority don't. The plot twist was I'm 30. I always forget how old I am. I'm 37. I'm 37,
Okay.
but I was 31.
Mhm.
I found out that my dad wasn't my dad. So, yeah,
Hmm.
my whole life. And, I kind of felt, even though, put it like this, even though he was on and off drugs, in and out of jail, I was a daddy's girl. Even when you know your parent is doing all the way wrong. Like, I'm talking, I would come home from school and my sneakers would be gone. CDs, that's back when, we had a house full of CDs.
Hmm.
CDs gone, TV pawned, like
And those
anything.
CDs were expensive now. Okay.
What? So this was an era where, my daddy would just take everything to the pawn shop just to get high.
Right.
And even with all that, I was still a daddy's girl. So when he would come in high, this was at my grandma's house at this point because she had custody of me. He would come in, he'd be high. I would get up and fix some sandwiches, tell him to get in the shower, go get some clothes for him to put on. Like he was still my dad, you know. Because then, of course, when he would get clean, he would give me some money and he would, pacify some of the stuff that he took from me. He would try to get it back to me, but, he would get high again and steal it again. It was kind of weird.
Mm.
But when I turned 31, my brother passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes, that was rough.
Mhm.
And he was only like, he was in his 20s. I kind of don't even remember how old he was, but he was in his 20s. So I had to get on a flight to go back home to Philadelphia. While I'm there, my mom, of course, she just lost a child. My mom don't really need a whole lot of reasons to drink.
Mm.
So, but she just lost a child. So, of course, I get there and she's drunk, like drunk. And she decides to tell me, you know, that my dad wasn't my dad.
Mm.
And I'm looking at her like, I am 31 years old. Are you kidding me? I'm a whole grown person. And in that moment, I felt like, so wait a minute, I went through this whole life with this guy over here, in and out of jail. I mean, I had pulled my father out of crack houses because there was
Mm.
crack houses everywhere. I would go to each one. Is my dad in there? Is my dad in there as a little kid? So I'm like, I did all that. And you tell me that man is not even my father? Turns out my real father lived around the corner,
Mm.
lived in my neighborhood around the corner my entire life. And I had no idea he even existed. And this man got Lexus and Mercedes in the driveway. A man with some money, right?
Wow.
Very smart, very, very smart, super intelligent. Um, and he had a family, a wife and children, the whole nine. And I was basically a product of, infidelity.
Right. Right.
So when I was born, um, because my mom and my dad, on and off drugs, had all these issues. They broke up, got back together. Like I said, Bobby and Whitney stuff, like on and off, on and off. My mom had it, had a thing for a guy around the corner named Poppy. And he was a little light skinned, smooth talking fella with money in the neighborhood. Always had motorcycles and just all the nice cars. He was in IT. And, him and my mom had a couple of flings and she became pregnant. So instead of, she said when I came out the womb, of course, this is the story I get after the fact, that I looked so much like Poppy. It was ridiculous. But, I guess it's crazy. Even back then in the 80s, while crack and all that was just like normal, you know, it was an embarrassment to get, pregnant by somebody else.
Right.
So the family knew. So my mom knew, all her sisters knew, my grandparents knew, oh, wow, that's Poppy's baby. But if Greg thinks that's his baby, let it be.
Secrets, right?
Secrets.
Family secrets. And so that's almost like I want to bring you on, not to talk about your family secrets in general, but just that topic alone.
Girl.
Because
that's crazy. Family secrets. So everybody knew that I was Poppy's child, even as a baby. But she just told my dad, Greg, that this is your baby. And like I said, it was just kind of crazy because they never were together anyway. But Poppy was married. He had a whole wife. So I had to stay a secret. So at 31 years old, I said, Mom, why would you tell me something like this? Like, I'm here for my brother's funeral. And she says, well, your dad lives in this neighborhood and he heard about, your brother dying. He'll probably just come to the funeral just to look at you. So I just thought I'd warn you. He wants to know what you look like. He, as an adult, he's seen you run around the neighborhood as a kid. But when I left, when I graduated high school, I came straight to Atlanta. So this guy, Poppy, probably hasn't seen me since that time. And like I said, I'm 31 now. So I say to my mom, okay, get in the car. I had a rental car. I said, let's just go meet this guy. And she's like, really? My mom is drunk. And I said, no, this is something, I need to do. The backstory is she said something about a Poppy when I was little. So I remembered it. I had to be like 5 and she was drunk. And she said something like, I think I was crying for my daddy. And she said, that ain't your daddy, no way. Your daddy named Poppy. And when you 5 years old, you hear something like that, you don't forget it. You never forget it. But she never said his name again. So I kind of was like, well, where did that come from? So when I arrived for the funeral and she said, there's a guy named Poppy, that's your dad, I believed her. I was like, okay, that's the second time. And she thought that was the first time she said that. And I said, Mom, you said that before. So she says, well, I don't know if we should go over there. He's married. He has kids. I said, that means I have siblings. I said, so you telling me that I've lost a brother today and I could potentially gain another one today. Let's do it. So she said, okay. We drove around the corner. It was literally in walking distance. It was literally right around the corner. We pull up to a house that I've been to before. And I said, Mom, I know this house. And she said, yeah, do you remember Miss Nora? Now, in that house, there was an old lady named Miss Nora. My mom used to always make me come see Miss Nora every Christmas, every Thanksgiving. You got to go see Miss Nora. Miss Nora was my grandmother, biological.
Wow.
And she felt like, whatever secrets y'all got, they don't have nothing to do with me. I need to see my grandbaby. So I pulled up to the house like, I've been in this house. And she said, yeah, that was your grandmother. And Poppy was always there, but you just didn't know who he was. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So she said, well, he works nights. She was like, your dad is really, really smart. She said, he's like an engineer, computer guy. He's really, really smart. And she said, that's where you get that from. So I was like, wow. So she said, well, you know, he's probably not home or he's probably asleep because he works nights.
Mm.
So we pull up. I stop the car and I'm like, man, I'm going to just go ring the doorbell.
Mm.
I would meet this guy. And lo and behold, he just walks out of the house. So my heart just stopped. And I'm like, oh my, and it was like I was looking at a mirror. I said, oh,
Wow.
I said, oh my God. Like she didn't even have to tell me. I was like, oh my God. And she starts crying and she's like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And I'm like, Mom, oh my God. And then a guy with dreads comes out after him. And I said, who is that? And she said, that's probably one of his sons. And I said, so that's my brother.
Mm.
And she said, yeah, probably. And I was like, okay. And this boy with these dreadlocks looks just like my daughter. It was so weird. Like to this day, I look at her, I'm like, oh my God, stop looking like your uncle. She looks just like him. So he's coming out and I'm looking at him and I see my child and I'm like, oh my God, this is really happening. And she said, well, that's strange because he's usually not home in the morning. And I'm like, how the heck you know that, you know? She was like, yeah, me and he's had the same work schedule for as long as I've known him. He's usually never home. So he's coming out the house and there's like this old school like Cadillac outside and he's coming out with a sponge and my brother now is coming out with a bucket and they're getting ready to wipe down the car. So my mom says, what do you want to do? And I said, just tell him I'm in the car.
Mm.
That's it. If he wants to meet me, I'm in the car, but I'm not going to just get out. So my mom gets out. She walks up to him and they hug because obviously she just lost her son. So I see them hugging and I could see her mouth move and it said, your daughter's in the car. And he turned around, he looked at the car. He ran towards this car that I'm sitting in. He opens my door, he rips me out, and he just hugs me and starts crying like a big old
Wow.
baby. And so I'm just standing there like, oh my God, oh my God. So he's crying and he was like, there's your brother. He's like, he tells my brother Alton, he said, go in the house and get Joseph. He's like, you got another brother. And I'm like, oh my God, like what the heck? And the other brother Joseph comes out and then they're like, oh yeah, you have another brother named Courtney. And I'm like, what?
Mm.
So and he's
God
like,
is so
yeah,
good.
and you got two sisters that live in Philly. And I'm like,
Mhm.
so in that day, I got 5 siblings. On the day I lost one,
Mm.
got 5. And he said, I've been waiting for this day my whole life. He said, I never thought.
Oh gosh, girl. Ugh.
He said, I never thought I'd have this moment. So I'm just standing there because I don't know what to say. So he looks at my mom, who's, visibly drunk. And he said, Kathy, let me tell her. He said, let me tell her. So I'm just there. I'm just like, what the heck? So he tells me, your mom and I, we had an affair. And I said, yeah, I kind of figured that. He said, yeah, my wife's in the house. I ended up telling her about you. So she knows. So he tells my brother, go get your mom. She's been waiting to meet you as well. He said, it's a mistake that I prayed about. I already asked the Lord for forgiveness and she knows about you. I'm like, oh my God, what the heck? So I'm just standing there with what felt like a new mom, all these siblings. And I'm like, what the heck? So I tell him, I have a daughter. He said, I'm a grandfather. And yeah. He said, that I didn't know. I said, yeah, she's back home in Atlanta. I didn't want to bring her. And he said, well, back in the 80s, your mom and I, we had an affair several times. He said,
Right.
he said, your mom was hot stuff back in the day. Like,
Well,
yeah.
look at you. You're gorgeous. So we know mom is
I was
gorgeous.
like,
So.
okay.
Mhm.
And he said, when she got pregnant, I left for the military.
Mm.
So we talked about it. And he said, well, does Greg think this is his baby? And my mom said, yeah. We've already named her. Her name is Kaniqua, and she already has Greg's last name. So he said, well, just keep it that way.
Right.
He said, and I'll just ask for forgiveness later if the opportunity ever arises. So he said, here's my opportunity. Do you forgive me? And I was like, yeah. And then he tells me that when he went off to the military, he said crack, cocaine, and all that was in the military. So he ended up on drugs while he was away.
Oh, wow, the reach of it, the reach.
So he said, even when he thought about it and said, no, that's my child, I need to get back to her. He said, I was so strung out. And I just figured wherever you were having a better life. And he said, so I told him, I said, no, not really. Like, that's not how that happened. And he said, wow, well, this is a lot. This is heavy right now. Can we just talk, whenever you know, get a moment? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, if you want me to be there for you at your brother's funeral, I'll be there as long as I can be your dad while I'm there. Aww. And I said, okay. Now, my husband was, due to fly in, but not until later. So I'm calling him and I'm like, you'll never believe what just happened. And I tell him what happened. And I said, my mom just told me some guy named Poppy is my father. And he says, is she drunk? And I said, yeah. Excuse me. He said, but then don't buy into that story. Mm-hmm. I said, no, it's real. So long story short, he's at the funeral. And I don't even see him. Like, I'm on the front row because I'm, family. So my dad's somewhere in the back. And, when it was time to close my brother's casket, I kind of lost it a little bit. And I just ran back up there. I just needed one more minute with my brother. And it was like I started to literally like collapse at the casket. And he just grabbed me. I didn't even know where he was, or I didn't even know he had made it. So I turned around and he's standing there and he was just like, I'm here, baby. I'm here from now on. And I was like, oh my God, this is too much. And my husband ended up not being able to make it. So that kind of worked out that my dad was just there. Right. So long story short, he said, well, you want to do a DNA test? Because you're going to go home and there's going to be a lot of people questioning this whole story. So I said, okay. So we did it in private. He said, I'm going to send you the link, the information. He's this computer techie guy. He said, it's already paid for. He said, just go to this address. I found something not far from where you are in Conyers. Just go here, swab your mouth and send it in. He said, when the results come back, I'll let you know. He said, but I already know you're my child. So, of course, while we waiting for the results, he was like, well, do you want to get to know me? And I said, sure. And when I tell you, I have never spent that much time on the phone with anybody in my entire life. But we spent breakfast, lunch, and dinner on the phone because we just had so much catching up to do. And he was just like, wow, like you are my kid. So I started to tell him about my mother's alcoholism and Greg. And mind you, he knew who my dad was. It was all the same hook. And he was like, I had no idea that your life was that bad. And he said, I failed you as a father because I wasn't there. He said, but I was somewhere in bad shape too. Mm. So he's like, with all the things you've accomplished, I can't even take credit for none of that. Like, who can take credit for all this stuff you've done? He was like, so you own a salon? And I was like, yeah. He said, wait, so you got a whole product line you own? I was like, yeah. And he said, well, how many people work in the salon? I was like, Dad, it's like 10 of us. He said, that's a lot. I said, yeah. And he's like, So wait a minute. So he's like, you've done all these things and your mom wasn't present. Your dad wasn't present. Me, I wasn't present. And you still accomplished all these things. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, I will never miss another one of these moments. No more milestones. So I said, okay. He's like, I just missed everything. So literally, there's a reason why I'm telling you this story. So literally, like maybe, a week later, the test results come in. And literally, he just forwards me the email. It's kind of weird. So I'm in Walmart with my daughter. And I see the email come up, and I almost fainted in the middle of Walmart. I'm like,
Oh, wow.
So I called him and I said, did you open it? And he said, I don't have to open it. I know you mine. I did this for you. So of course, I'm literally in the checkout line, trembling. And the lady is standing there like, are you going to pay?
Are you right? Right.
So, like, yeah, I just need a minute. And I couldn't help myself. I opened it. And of course, it's 99.9999. So I called him back. I'm all excited. And he was just like, okay, so can I meet you, again now? And I was like, okay, cool. So he was like, well, what do you got going on? And I said, well, my salon, we made it 3 years. So we're having a party this weekend. Mind you, I'm here in Atlanta. He's still in Philly. And he said, oh, well, what kind of party is it? I said, well, nothing big. It's just 3 years. He said, just 3 years? That's a big deal. So he's like, well, I hate I'm going to miss it. It's just, literally days from now. He said, I know I promised you I wouldn't miss another milestone, but I just want you to know I'm proud of you. I said, okay. That man hung up the phone, told his wife and all my siblings to get in the car, and they just started driving to Atlanta. So he told me he was going to miss it, but he didn't. So like literally the next day I'm at work and he calls and he's like, hey kiddo, what you doing? And I'm like, oh, nothing, just getting ready for the party. And he's like, oh, can we all crash? And I thought he was joking. And I said, yeah, Dad, of course you can crash. And he's like, no, literally, I'm at the Waffle House around the corner. Can we really crash? And I'm like, wait a minute, what? So long story short, he ends up, in town. We spend like the whole day together. I was like shocked the entire time. But now there's a conflict because my former, I don't know what you want to call it, my dad that's been in my life, he's clean now. He's in my life. He's going to be at the same party. And I was like, oh my God, how is this going to play out? So the night of the party, my dad, Greg, tells me, well, if he's going to be there, I don't want to be there. And I'm like, are you kidding me? He was like, oh no, if he's your new dad, the knight in shining armor, coming to save the day type thing, then I'll let you have your time with your new dad. And, ego. So my dad kind of felt some type of way about it. So that whole thing was so emotional for me because I had to find a way to tell them, like, there's room in my life for both of y'all. I can have 2 dads. We're going to make this a normal thing. And it was weird. So my dad comes in town and my dad that's here, they almost got into it at the party. And it just turned into this whole thing. And I told my husband, I was like, can you please just go outside and talk to them? They don't have to fight over me. Like, it's okay. So before I can even say that, they both walked back in and said, can we take a picture together? So there's this picture of the 3 of us at my salon's anniversary party with my daughter. And they said we had to just talk about it. And we decided, it's just best that we put our differences to the side and we both be your father. And a year later, Poppy passed away.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Right.
Whew. Wow. Powerful. Wow. I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that, but it is a blessing. What a powerful. Wow.
Yeah. So I only had my biological father for a year, but yeah. But
it's a blessing you were able to connect with him. My goodness. What about that timing? Only God. Only God.
We had to know this man was leaving this earth soon. And it was time. It was time.
Oh
And
my
it happened so sudden. Even though he started to get sick, nobody knew it was that big of a deal. Like, I have pictures of him in his hospital gown, like where I'm laughing at him because he went in, because he wasn't feeling good, and they ended up keeping him overnight. And I'm cracking up, like making picture fun of him because his butt was out in his gown, like he was supposed to just go home. And it happened so fast that I found out on Twitter
oh my goodness.
because people just thought I knew, and
I'm sorry.
wanted to be the one to tell me. So I'm at work, and something pops up on my phone from one of my brothers, and it said, "Rest in peace, Poppy." And I said, like, I saw it, and I just kind of giggled, just like I just did. I said, "Hmm." So I was like, well, maybe he's referring to another Poppy. And I just went in denial, and I kept working. I'm just flat ironing away. And somebody called my husband to check on me. And my husband was like, what? What did you say? So my husband comes up to my job. And when my husband came to the salon, and the way he looked at me, that's when I knew he was really gone. Because he was just looking at me to see, well, why are you still working? And he was like, oh, crap, like she doesn't even know. So he's just in my suite while I'm curling my client's hair. And we just laughing and talking. And I said, why are you here? He said, nothing. He just looked at me like, you okay? And I'm like, oh, okay. So I kept looking at my phone, and he said, well, what do you keep looking at? I said, I don't know. Joe put something on Twitter, and it kind of caught me off guard. He said, well, what did he put? I said, I don't even want to say it out loud. He said, okay. So I finished my client, and I went around the corner to the break room because I was just going to go in there and just kind of sit. And my daughter was already in the break room crying. So that's when I kind of knew he was gone. And he had passed earlier that day. And nobody called me. Nobody said anything. And he said, babe, everybody was scared to tell you because you just got him. You just got him. And I think your baby brother put it on Twitter because he just probably assumed you knew by now. Like he had passed that morning, and it was like 8 o'clock at night, and I'm just flat ironing. So I literally found out on Twitter.
Wow. What a story. This is a book. You do know this. I know you have a book out, but this is a book. You
Yeah,
do understand what
yeah,
this is going to have to turn into
right.
because it's something that's you have too much favor over your life for you not to put this into something to where it's going to be a guide for somebody else. You see what I'm saying? So I know it's going to be another labor of love after this because this is definitely
Yeah.
this is a book, it's not a movie.
Brittany put that
Okay.
on my list. Like, you need to do this. You need a
Yes.
book. And
No,
I'm
you
like,
do need a book. No, you do. You
who
definitely
wants to
do.
write all this down? You saw how hard it was to say it, but
Yes.
and there's so much of the story I had to leave out, obviously for timing purposes. But
Of course.
it's a lot.
But the release of being able to put your story out there is definitely it's spiritually fulfilling, I'm sure, after it's
Yeah.
all said and done, because this this story is really so it's there's so many facets to this story. I mean,
Girl.
when you spoke even about,
And that's the short
going
version.
to visiting your father, a father
Mhm.
in prison, or going, those types of stories, these types of situations happen all the time.
Mhm.
And so when you think about all of the different facets that we spoke about of going into pulling your father out of a situation of a crack house, all those types of situations that or too many people coming in and out of your home as a child.
Yeah.
Okay, that needs to be addressed for people. Period.
Period.
Okay, period.
Period.
So because I definitely, I see so many different reasons for you
Yeah.
to write this book, because I am so inspired by you, your courage, your
I'm sorry.
tenacity.
But
I
that's why I
mean,
tell people all the time, like, y'all, if I can do this, y'all shortchanging yourself.
right.
It's so many people who grew up with mother and father who worked normal. Nothing was perfect. I know, but I just know so many people have grown up with, a sense of normalcy. And I'm y'all probably had college funds and money in the bank and clean clothes. Like, I was the kid with roaches and, same underwear on from 3 days ago because we didn't even have a washing machine, so If I was able to do everything that I've done, what the heck is your excuse? Like I'm there with it. What is your excuse?
Like they said, somebody took that same situation and made it and was winning with it. Okay, they made magic out of it.
I be pissed off when people, well, I don't have this and I don't have that and I don't have this, and I'm like, okay, figure it out. Figure it out. Like I didn't have none of that either. You know, I didn't even have a parent. The basics. I didn't have a parent, so I had to get through my first cycle. I'm sorry, my first cycle, my first boyfriend, the high school graduation. I'm sorry.
I'm thankful for you to even share this. I know it's hard. Feel
Yeah.
free to take some deep breaths if you want to grab some water, because you are so
Girl. Like,
you're healing right now.
Parents, right? I didn't even have parents. You can do this. It's no excuse. It's no excuse. Do it. Whatever you need to do in this life, just do it. Stop making excuses. These grown people with cell phones and a couple dollars in the bank talking about what they can't do.
Right.
And I'm like, yes, you can. You can do whatever you put your mind to doing. And you probably don't even have the trauma that I have. Just do it.
Right. Right. So tell me, when you talk about this, like, how do you feel? Do you feel like,
Girl,
how are you feeling? Because you feel, I feel like, I just feel like just
I'm mad at you for this. This wasn't the plan.
I know, but I'm telling you, you are a blessing. You are a blessing, a true one. Okay, when you came on here to just share this type of story, I'm motivated in a different way. Your tears are tears of strength, of healing. Okay, this is
the nation on here. They know this. I call these thug tears. Just got to get through it.
Yes, just get through it. Right, exactly. We got to thug it out. Right, we have to make magic out of these situations, even when we don't want to. Right, because unfortunately, like you said, we have to go through this and still be able to persevere, regardless, with the trauma. Yeah. It doesn't matter. The trauma.
Don't let that be your story.
Correct. Don't let it just be the end of your story. Exactly.
That could just be my story, and that's it. I've accomplished nothing. I would have just felt like such a disappointment to myself if I just let that be my story, and that's all I talk about. And I use it as an excuse. Oh, I can't be in a successful, happy relationship. Right. Oh, I can't run a successful business. Nobody in my family ever did, so I can't. Oh, I can't, have a staff, of now 16 girls and be able to lead and mentor. It's easy for me to say, well, I can't. And, you can. You could do anything you pray to Jehovah about. He'll see to it that you get it done. And I just think it's important. And I'm thankful for it. Some people wish they could change stuff. It's kind of like, I don't want to change none of that. It did build me to who I am, but it pushes me because there's certain things I'm not going to put up with. I've been through too much. So it's just certain things I'm just not going to deal with. It's certain things that I'm not going to ever let me stop me. So like one of the little things I say to myself when things get scary, or I'm thinking about, going to a new level in business and it's scary. I say, well, what's, scarier than, a man coming into your bedroom every night? What's scarier than that?
You're right about that. Right.
So I have to say those things to myself, like, ain't nothing scarier than that. So this should be a breeze. Okay, let's go out here and do this business venture. Let's go out here and invest this money because there ain't nothing scarier than what I've already been through.
Now, so that right there is
nothing scares me anymore. It's just like, oh, okay, that's all you got. Okay.
And so when we try to compare our trauma to life situations, and we make that our motivation too, that right there is re-traumatizing sometimes too. Okay.
Sure.
But that's where we're pulling from. We're pulling
Yeah.
from that little girl inside of us, our little
Mm-hmm.
me. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
we're saying to our little me that we're going to still make it
We're gonna
regardless
still make
of,
it.
right. We didn't
My
have that
mom could
control
keep
as
up her
children.
foolishness. Yeah, my mom could keep up her foolishness. My dad can
Mm,
live however he want to live. Like, I am unfazed because I know what's for me,
mm.
and I know that this happened to me so that I can talk about it. This happened to me because it's my testimony, and I know I could mentor other girls and
Amen.
other, not even girls, just other young business entrepreneurs who
Just
say,
people,
Nook, I
anybody.
can't. Anybody who said it can't, come talk to me.
That's
Yes, you
right.
can. Yes, you can. You know what I mean? So I just feel like it happened to me for a reason. I believe Jehovah allowed me to go through it. He didn't put me through it, but he allowed me to, so that I can mentor other people. And I'm okay with that.
Yes, yes, because you understand it's for a greater purpose. And
Absolutely.
I'm just so thankful again for you to be on Survivor Shoals. No,
Thank you
telling
for having me.
your story is one of strength and perseverance for you to have made it through so many different uh, hard situations, and to be able to uh, come out with your own product line, have your own salon, be a mentor and a role model for so many other women, teaching business, business practices, and you are just a exemplification of what perseverance can achieve, right? Because you've stuck in there, you've stayed determined, you've stayed
Yeah.
regardless of the ebbs and flows that you went through in life, you have still utilized that passion and turned it into power, right?
Right.
And I'm thankful for you to share your story.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit too about, like, what when you write your book?
When?
Okay.
Okay.
When you write your book, um, what are some of the things that you feel as though are some, I would say 2 to 3, if not, I don't want to over put it on you, but
Mm-hmm.
lessons that you feel like are takeaways from your journey? Just, I know that
Mm-hmm.
there's so many, but
Yeah.
what are 3 that you feel like are key things that these young women and young people in general, or people should take away from this story of yours? I mean, I can
Yeah.
culminate it, but I feel like
Yeah.
you're so you know what
Girl.
it is that you have. A very clear vision. That's what I
Mhm.
see. I see you have a very, very, very
Yeah.
clear vision, and your vision has been really solidified through the fire.
Right.
Because you've been through so much, you understand what doesn't work and what does work.
Right.
And so now you're able to guide others through intuitiveness. You're very intuitive.
Yeah.
You're able to kind of see
I know
things.
how to survive.
Yes, you do. Um, you definitely do. So tell me a little bit about maybe 3 things or three
Okay.
lessons that would be helpful to other young people, or just people in general going through
Okay.
something similar. Maybe feeling,
Mm-hmm.
maybe let's go. You know what? Let's jump into 2 things. What would you
Mm-hmm.
tell, one thing you would tell to your little you, and one
Mm-hmm.
thing that you would say now to somebody who has been through some of the things that you have
Ooh.
been through?
Will you switch the question up all the
Yeah, we're
way?
gonna switch it up on you. We're gonna switch it
Okay.
up.
I think I would tell little me, young me,
Yeah.
look, this ain't got to be your story.
Okay.
When you grow up and you become a mom, do it the right way. Break this cycle. Because
Mm.
for the longest, I didn't even want any kids because I just felt like I wouldn't even know where to start. I wouldn't know how to be a mom. I didn't have a mom. So what do moms do? You know?
Mm.
So young me would probably tell myself, don't have the attitude. Like when I got married, it was just off the table. Like I don't want kids because I just felt like I wouldn't know how to be a mom. So I think I would go back and tell young me, yes, you can. And you can be a good mom because you know what not to do.
Mm.
So, I'm patiently waiting on my daughter's first cycle. I'm patiently waiting on prom and, high school. And, you know, my daughter is amazing. And I did a good job. And it's okay for me to say that. I did a good job with her. So I would just tell young me that don't shortchange yourself. Don't say what you can't do. And I forgot the second question. Tell me
The
again.
second question is for those who have been through something similar to what you've been through as an adult now, what are some things that you would say to keep them inspired or a great lesson? And you are a wonderful, wonderful mother. I already know it. We can feel it. Okay.
Man,
We already know
because I
that you
got to
have,
protect her. So
that's
I'm
right.
the overboard mom. Like,
Yep.
no, we're not letting them same things happen to you. I got eyes on the back of my head. I see everything. So I protect her from everything. But for somebody who may have, a similar story, and no, I don't want more kids, sensational styles. I did good with one. We're going to leave it there. What I would tell somebody who's been through this before, or, dang it, you almost made me forget. How did you word the question? You worded it better.
Someone who has been through this type of situation, these types of experiences with family, this types of family tragedy, in essence, what would you tell them to keep moving forward? Because this is
Okay.
a lot of trauma,
Okay.
that they're holding on to.
So two things. First thing is, if God drew you to a relationship with him, stay in it. I think that's my number one, because I feel like, Jehovah God drew me out of my situation. And now that I'm out of it, stay out of it.
That's deep.
Stay
Woo,
out of it. Sometimes he
goodness.
pull us out of stuff and we make excuses to say, well, my mom was alcoholic. So it's very easy for me to just decide, well, that's all I know. So that's what I'm going to be.
So your book is about breaking generational curses.
Facts.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. So I've already wrote down
you
all
wrote it
types
down. Text them to me, girl. Text them. So number one, if he draw you out, stay out, and don't look for ways or excuses to go back to something he took you from or he saved you from.
A word.
That's number one. And number two, I would say seek therapy and counseling. That's the one thing I didn't do. So that would be my advice. It's, for a while been the stigma, that if you go to a therapist or have, counseling of any sort, then something's wrong with you. So my other piece of advice is go. If you've been through this, talk to somebody. And it's still on my bucket list. I tell my husband from time to time, I need a therapist, because old feelings kind of haunt me and come up from time to time. And I probably do need to just go talk to somebody. So I'm just so busy, and I know that's an excuse. I know it is, but don't be ashamed to say. I think that's the first step. Me saying, I need therapy. I need to talk to somebody who trained in childhood trauma. Give me some. I know they give you little exercises and stuff to do to heal faster. Right. So that would be my
I think that's a great idea too. And I think that a lot of times too, there's a stigma with counseling because everybody feels like you should be able to work it out yourself. But it also is that sometimes you don't want to go to counseling because you feel like it's going to bring up too much that's going to cripple you from continuing on with life. Like you're going to get into a mental space where you can't handle the whatever is going on. And now it's going to flood and hit you all at once.
Because you're crazy now. Because now you're crazy.
Correct.
So I have to, that's one of those things I have to take my own advice on and just bite the bullet and just go ahead and schedule it, because I probably should be even further along than I am, because there are some things that, still come up from time to time and, get to me, but yeah.
But I see here therapyforblackgirls.com. You see that on the comments?
Okay, I'm gonna look into that.
I think I'm going to look into that too. That sounds really cool to, that there's a site like that.
Right. Definitely.
Well, I love it. What are some, I love the fact that you are so proactive about your self improvement. You are so thoughtful about how you are within. You can tell you do a lot of introspection. Right. And that is really your introspection has helped you to grow into such a strong woman. And someone who I respect you so much. I feel like I'm so thankful for you to come on and you're welcome. And when I get off, I'm gonna be crying. I already know.
Me too. I'm be in the bed crying. Look, did you just really get on live and cry like that? not all
But
in your
it's
nose.
thug tears. We said thug tears, okay? We
It
not.
does too.
But it's tears of women who have been through situations where they have not felt safe. Just like when they have that, just like the escape song that I used to play over and over again. Who can I run to? Okay, and I'm telling you, I played that over and over again back in the day because I felt it. I felt like, who can I run to? And I feel that same feeling that you've had as a young girl, because I understand that feeling. And just because you realize that you're running to God. So, you're running to, like you say, you're running to Jehovah. You're running to the one who is going to be able to put the pieces back into your life and a way that is been designed by something you could never have figured out by yourself. Okay,
No,
because never. But
never.
this is the thing. These are the blessings that he's placed upon you that are now coming into fruition, even more so. And you're seeing the blessing over your life where you may have felt as though you had a cloud over you before. Now it's a change because, as they say, those who start last go first, right? In essence, and so, it's only a
I
matter of
definitely went
time.
last.
Right.
I had my
Exactly.
fair share of going last.
Exactly.
I can't afford to go back, So when they say stuff like, in my winning season, like y'all didn't see my losing season. So when people want to just be jealous or hate or, I've had people say stuff, oh, it must be nice to have all these things because they see what you work for.
Right. Of
They see all
course.
the things you have now. So, people sometimes when they just meet Nook now and they put you on a pedestal that you don't even belong
Right.
on in their own minds, and they're like, oh, it must be nice to be able to afford that. It must be nice to have money, and it must be nice. And I'm like, sis, you wasn't with me shooting in the gym. Like, you wasn't with
Listen.
me in my losing season. I had a losing season. I mean, I lived in a shelter at one point. Like, I had a losing. My mother never owned a vehicle. Like, we were on food stamps. She was high. She was drunk. Like, we had no food in the house. Like, nothing. Just a little Arm& Hammer box in the back of the refrigerator. We had no food. So please do not tell me what, oh, it must be nice for you to have all these things. And I'm like, sis, I work.
Right.
I work so hard.
Right.
I will outwork anybody because I don't want to go back. And like I said, if he removed me from that, then who am I to say, well, let me, get in these streets and live how everybody else living and just live,
Right.
because
There
that's what
should
my
be
family
there.
did.
And you bring up something too about you're bringing up so many different topics. Okay,
Yeah.
we're talking about also being having an abundance. Should you feel
People will
shame
guilt
for
trip you.
having
Ooh,
prosperity? For
they will
prosperity
guilt
being
trip you. And I'm like, sis, like if you only knew what I've been through, like I'm not going to allow you to make me feel bad about working for something.
right.
Because that's the other thing, like things are just handed to me. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Nobody died and left me anything.
Right.
I'm in the mud every single day. So you're not going to guilt trip me. And, family, and sometimes it comes from family, and that's where it hurts the most because they came from the same, roach infested house you come from. They come from the same drug dealing neighborhood you come from. So sometimes it's easy for them to look at me and just, oh, you think you all that, or, must be nice, And I'm like, no, I got the same DNA. I have the same
Right.
background. I got the same
Right. And I
story.
think what happens is that people ask, why is this not happening to me?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I not able to have this type of
Mm-hmm.
prosperity?
And
But they
that's
don't
cool.
realize that
They
everybody's
don't,
life is totally different.
yeah.
And so what you may not think that you're going to have in life, you have to continuously work
Yeah.
for it. Like we, have in essence, keep moving forward as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And prayerfully that the blessings will come, but that's not even a guarantee because it's all about the grace. Okay, he has to give you the
Facts.
grace to be
Facts.
able to have prosperity. It's
Yeah.
not about you. It's not about who look at what I got. Look
Girl,
at this.
that's what they think. That's what they think. They got it all
Yeah.
wrong. I'm like, if you want the stuff I have, then go through the stuff I went through.
Right.
You can't just have what I have. Like that's not how that works. Everything I have is because my knees are still scraped up from, getting it out the mud and on my knees praying. Like, So you can't just see what a person has now. That's why I don't envy nobody doing stuff light years past me, because I'm like, if they blessed like that, I can't imagine what they went through.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's how I keep
Exactly.
it in perspective. Like, if she living like that, like some people looking at me just assuming I'm rich and have all these things, and when I do the same thing, and that's why God tell you not to, be jealous or envious of nobody's situation, because you don't. I don't know what sis had to do to get to where she was. Her story had to be much more tragic than mine. Now, sis, you keep that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I know with the blessings come the maledictions. So every blessing you have, I know a lot came with that. So,
Amen.
and I just feel like, he blesses you for your faithfulness and for not quitting.
Amen. He blesses you for your perseverance
Yeah.
and your consistency. Like I see Bohana Marketing is saying, and like we've had some great comments on the line too, because
I know.
you have been inspiring, and we're all here crying. We're over here
Girl,
like, really just enthralled with you, because you are just a beaming light at
I
this,
try.
just of
That's the
hope.
least I can do.
You are. I mean, when I
I
look
can be
at you,
woe
I'm
is
like,
me, but I can
whew,
also be, hey, listen, guys, stop procrastinating on whatever you're trying to do in life. Like, just get out there and do it.
just do it.
Do
And
it
that's the
scared.
whole, that's the message to just do it. What are some projects you have coming up? Because you have a lot of things going on too. Just
Girl.
a
Well,
lot.
Corona kind of messed up a lot of my
Mhm.
projects. We typically every year do a Do It Scared convention, I guess you can kind of say conference, which is like a networking event. We've done it 2 years in a row, and every time, from the first time to the second time, it doubled. It just keeps doubling. So that was scheduled for 2020, but
Do
COVID.
it scared. Ah, the
It's a networking
energy,
event.
the
Yes,
energy.
it's big energy. And it's basically a saying, hey, join me in a room full of other entrepreneurs who are also scared. Because sometimes the stigma is, okay, these people who are successful and always have to do this because success, that's just who knows, what a person is really going through. But you just put these people on these pedestals like, oh, look at all these successful people. They're just out here killing it. It's like a networking event to say, no, these people are scared too. So get in a room, let's all get on the same level. Let's all slice some humble pie, and we all talk about how we're struggling and what things we have to accomplish and overcome.
You
What
got
things we feel like
testimonies.
we need to
This is
work on.
testimony service. You got
Girl,
testimony service
it's so
going
much
on.
fun. Like I said, every year it kind of gets a little bit bigger, and I'm telling you, it's a room full of tears. Is really what it is, because people are meeting people. Whether you got 1,000 followers or 100,000, because we rate success. You got to be real successful if you got all these followers. So it's kind of cool when you sitting at a table with somebody who got 100,000 followers and they crying harder than you because they stuff ain't together. You know what I mean?
Mm.
They still they want to learn something from you. So it's fun. Like we play all kind of networking games. Before you can leave the room, you had to talk to everybody. We just have little necklaces you put on people. It's really really fun. Oh, hey, Nairobi. I think a few people on here have been to some of them, but it's like uplifting. So we give out awards for, prettiest style, prettiest smile, best style. It's kind of like to uplift you. Like you might have walked in a room not really thinking you had a pretty smile, but you got all these people voting
You
like
are
you
a
have
whole
pretty.
vibe. You are a
Yeah,
whole
but it's just a
vibe.
day of lunches on me, drinks is on me. Let's all come in a room and just talk to each other, and let's talk about our fears. So we have challenges. So when you come in the door, you get like a piece of paper with one of your biggest fears, and you have to talk to another person in the room about that fear. And I give you little exercises and games, and you have to do certain videos, like go live right now, or have someone record you doing a infomercial about your business, and let them coach you through the process. So people left with a whole bunch of content. People are outside, like, doing photo shoots. That was like one of your tasks, like to go outside and just do a whole photo shoot and take 3 people to hype you up for the photo shoot. So it was like just something like that, empowerment. Somebody just had to randomly, the next song come on, grab 3 people and go to the dance floor and make them dance with you. And it was just things to get you out of your comfort zone and to realize, you know, if you really want to be successful, sometimes the first step is opening your mouth and talking to people.
Mhm.
You never know who you need. And that's another problem with us as Black entrepreneurs. We scared to ask for help and scared to say, hey, this is what I need. So that was a challenge. Hey, if you're working on a business or project and it's missing a vital component, get on the microphone and say, hey, my name is such and such. I run this business. I could really use an editor. And then chances are there's 5 editors in the room. So now you got the missing piece of your business. So it was pretty cool to see a couple of those come together. There was a young lady there. She sold pads, like feminine hygiene products. And then there was another lady there who was writing a book for young girls starting their menstrual cycle. And they ended up collabing to do kits to mail out to young girls with the book and the pads. So it was kind of cool to see people, kind of network and put pieces of their business together. So it was called the Do It Scared experience. So that was a project I had coming up, but Corona took that off the table. But
I'm kind of still now. I'm like, I want to do it too. I want to.
Brittany's supposed to be helping me. She said,
okay.
She was like, look, we could still do a virtual conference, and I'm like, it's not the same, but okay.
I still feel like this is so needed. I love.
Girl.
I think you should do. I'm supportive. Whatever I need to do to make this happen, I want to go.
We had guest speakers.
I will fly. Look, I will get on the. Look, I'm putting the mask on. I'm trying to, I'll take a drive over there from Jersey. Because honestly, like I love what you're doing. I love the fact that you're pouring into so many people.
But I just want everybody to know, like, you're probably not by yourself. Correct. Or in that corner with your business, frustrated. Mm-hmm. You know, you're missing something. You don't really have the confidence. You just need to be hyped up for a day. You know, you need to be hyped up. You need to be fulfilled, encouraged.
Change your whole life.
It was like, come if you just need a hug. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? From another like-minded business owner. You just need a hug. Come talk about your traumas. Come talk about your past experience to a complete stranger. It'll make you feel better. Like, you're a complete stranger, and I feel better because I just said some stuff. So sometimes it's kind of like, come get your therapy. Just get it out. Mm-hmm. And, you know, let's make lunch out of it. And I really, really enjoyed it. And people were like, oh, my God. You know, I had a makeup artist on deck, like whatever you need to make you feel better. Get your makeup done. Do this, do that. We had like a photo booth set up. It was really nice. And I don't take no credit for that. The people who came made it what it was. I can't do that by myself. So those are some of the things, you know, I have coming up. Brittany is talking about, Brittany is my publicist, for anybody asking, who the heck is Brittany? She's like, well, maybe we could do something first of the year. It's like a kickoff. If the numbers, you know, come back down, people are starting to feel safe, you know, flying now. So maybe like in January, we might be trying to launch another one. So we'll see. But other than that, you know, I did a lot of mentorship over Corona. So we did like mentorship calls. I think I've done like 25 of them. So that was fulfilling, just on the phone with someone saying, hey, look, here's where I am in my business. I'm kind of at a dead stop. Can you help me? I don't know anything about branding, or I'm not sure how to set up my email list, or can you help me with my social media? We spend time doing that. And then I've also done, you know, webinars on business, branding, on marketing. I did a hairstylist boot camp just to talk about some of the things hairstylists should be doing and how to improve in that field. I did an Instagram class. So I'm doing a little plug here. It's still on my website. You guys can go check it out, on just all the tips and tricks, learning the algorithm. So I've been busy, just always trying to help and teach people. So, you know, I did a total of 4 webinars over the quarantine, just, you know, helping you improve your business. And I just took it subject by subject. So there's content creation 101. There's Instagram Nooks. So that's the one that shows you how to navigate Instagram. And then we did the hairstylist boot camp. Minding your business. We went in. So we talked about, you know, the importance of getting an LLC, how to get one, you know, what's the steps? Should you trademark? When do you trademark? So all the things that I've learned in business that I could just teach, you know what I mean? Instead of keeping it all up here, like, hey, grab a paper and pen. Let me show you how to do all this.
Exactly. Because on top of, you know, going through so much and being accomplished and having your own line and being almost you're just an all-around mentor in essence. I mean, what you're doing is
I might as
really,
well.
what you say?
I might as well be. I mean,
You are.
it's
You are.
only fair
You've changed the
that I
narrative.
give back. Yeah.
You have. You've changed the narrative. You've given back, and you
Mhm.
give. You continue to give back. And when you get the book, when the book comes out, it's going to be even a part of
Lord.
that. When we talk about the generational curses and all of that,
Yeah.
I mean that's going to be part of your teaching model. My goodness,
Mhm.
you're phenomenal in so many
I'm
ways.
alright.
Right, but you're doing this because you've been through so much, through that battery's in your back in essence,
Mhm.
to be able to help somebody else, because you know the pain of it, of not having that type of the pain of not having that type of person in your corner. And so now you're that person in people's corner. And so what are
Mhm.
some things that you do for to relax, like for
What's
yourself?
that?
Right. That's my
Girl, what's that? Today is Sunday, and I mean, I feel like I've been working all day. But
yeah.
I do like to get my nails done. Like that's my little
Yeah, because I'm
thing.
like, they are
This is
pretty. They
this
are so
is like
pretty.
my self-care. You know, everybody preach self-care. This is like the one thing, come hell or high water, I am doing for myself. I have a standing appointment with my nail tech. I don't think I missed an appointment in 5 or 6 years. Like it's just my one thing. I don't care who died, called me after my nail appointment. Like I leave me alone. So I try to do that. I used to do massages once a month. Of course, I fell off of that
Mhm.
once COVID hit. But I do try to take out some time for me.
Okay.
But I try to eat right. I eat a lot of salads and stuff like that. That's my little self-care. I got off my workout routine. But I try to, stay present spiritually as well, keep my Bible reading, and
Mhm.
spiritual routine at the top of the list because,
Right.
that's important to, stay in prayer and, stay in my worship because that's the least I can do.
Well, I
You
want
know
you
what I
back on the
mean?
show.
But it got to be a better, not a better, but
Right, I know what you mean. A different topic. Right, I know.
right.
But I need you back. I need you back, Brittany.
Yes.
I need her. I love her. Keep her.
Brittany
So yes,
said, "Hey, do you have a She said, "Do you have a survival story?" I was like, "How many
yeah.
you need?" Like, I survive in, every day. What are you talking about? Do you have one? I'm like, "Do I? Where do I start?"
Do you?
She was like, "Do you have a list?" I'm looking for a list of categories. Like, no matter what category you say, I got a survival
You
story to fit
do. You
every
do. And
category.
but on top of that, you're just so polished in
Girl, I'm
every
glad you think so.
way.
I'm
Okay?
raggedy.
You no.
I'm barely
You
holding on over here.
you are,
Okay.
but I'm telling you, the information that you're giving is so loving.
Mhm.
It's out of the spirit of love. You feel it because you're
Yeah.
telling people really what's going to help to propel them to the next level. All the levels that you went through, you're giving people the game. You're telling people the plan of it and how they
Mhm.
can prosper and how they can persevere through these ebbs and flows. Even the comfort of you've given with your with your organization, you've given
Mhm.
women places to run to, right? When we
Yeah.
talk about who can I run to and who's going to have your back, you've given that. You've
Yeah.
given that place and that safe space. And that's where one of the reasons I want to come. Because I feel like I'm serious because
I want you to
I
come.
feel it.
It's
I feel
fun.
the safe that I feel that
Yeah.
I feel the safeness. I feel that
Don't even bother
comfort.
putting makeup on. I paid for
Right.
makeup that day and it was gone in that first 30 minutes. Just seeing how many people showed up. It was
Mm,
like a reception line of people who just wanted to hug me. I couldn't stop crying. I'm like, why do y'all want to hug me? It's humbling because sometimes people see more in you that you see in yourself. So
yes.
for me, I'm just working. That's how I look at it. Okay, I gotta,
Yes.
make sure the salon up and running. Okay, I gotta make sure my product line up and running. Okay, I gotta make sure me as a hairstylist, I'm educated and I'm up and running. So for me, I'm just working. And I'm just sharing my story as I go. But when people see me and they just bust out in tears and want to hug me, it's kind of like, girl, I'm just working. Like, don't give me no
Right.
credit for nothing. I'm just working. So it's humbling to know that I can inspire people like I never thought. Like, who would have thunk that, and I'm appreciative for Instagram. That's a platform where you can share. And I always tell people, be transparent. Like, these people want to see the ugly too.
That's
And
right.
you follow people on Instagram that only want to lean up against their Maybach in every picture. Stop following those people. If they
Right.
can't show you the ugly, you're just always going to keep comparing yourself to them and feel like, oh, I'll never be on their level. Listen, follow some people who show you the ugly.
That's right. That's right.
I show you ugly. Like, listen. And I try to be open door and an open book. Like, you can always DM me, you can always call me, you can always email me, and I'll understand. There's not too much you can run by me that I just wouldn't understand. Like,
wow. And Brittany says she made a comment right now. It says, chosen. You are chosen. I truly feel it. I feel you've been chosen. You have been chosen for a very, and we don't want to be chosen. Okay.
No.
I made a post about that yesterday. We don't want it. We didn't ask for this.
No. Listen, and I tell people all the time, like, I don't want no fame. I just want to help people. You know what I mean?
Right. But God has given this to you, this story, this journey. And he's brought you out, in essence, visibly unscathed for a purpose, for you to be able to inspire. And what you're doing is in perfect, I believe it's in perfect alignment with what is meant for your life, even though we have these trauma. And I'm sure you feel it too. Mm-hmm. And so, how can people find you to connect with you? I love what you're doing so much.
No, thank you.
I'm like, what can I do? What can I push more into? Because this is the type of, you have that energy. You have that energy.
It's a lot. Like you said, you don't be wanting to be chosen. Like, I'm such a low key, play the back kind of person, but the way my life is set up, I can't. It's like I'm always pushed, to do more things, and people always just expect so much of me. So it can be draining. It can be tiring when people are like, oh, you're not on your 5th salon by now? And I'm like, no. I'm trying to keep the one I have. But if anybody wants to connect with me, of course, I'm Styles by Nook on Instagram. I have an email list. If anybody wants to join it, it's the Nook Nation email list, and it's at stylesbynook.com if you guys want to join. But I'm pretty regular.
You're really not regular. I hope you do know that. Like, you're really not.
I mean, if you want to take advantage of some classes or anything like that, that's cool too. I usually give a lot of game on my classes. I don't leave nothing off the table. So, and I also do, of course, the coaching calls. So you could book a 1-hour call with me, and I literally go through your business or, whatever you want to do and get you wherever you want to be.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I so appreciate you spending this time, for being vulnerable, and for speaking life into all of us this evening. You have been given so much out of the love in your spirit. I mean, I really would love to have you back on. Because
whenever you're ready.
Let's look at some of the comments too, and say because you have so many great comments. We have Premium Styling, of course, Brittany, Butler Party, Sissy McDaniel, Hair Passion by LaShawn, and Crown Roots.
Thank y'all.
The
people who know me know I'm real regular. Y'all better stop.
The one of a kind. There's so many, and so Tish one of a kind, and we just want to raise you up in love, and we will be praying for you, because we want you to continue on this mission that you have of love and of uplifting. And we're all here to support you, and just let you know we are safe places to run to.
I mean support too.
Yes. And I mean, I personally, I got you. I'm about to go on your site, see what I can buy, what can I help you with, because you are definitely someone that is the example of what the Survivor Shows is about. Okay, you exemplified it. You have come in and just rocked it. Okay.
I appreciate your platform. Everybody check her out too. I just learned of her actually today. Like I just kind of got thrown in this. Look, get on here and tell your story today. I'm like, okay. But you guys check her out too. Like I went through your page and I saw how you've done past interviews with other really, really dope people who've been through worse than I have. Like, so you guys make sure you check her out. And now I'm in the loop now, so I'm gonna be watching whoever you have on next, because
Awesome.
I think this is important to have the conversation. Like I was over here minding my own business, wasn't planning on having this conversation tonight, but I think it's important to talk about it, you know, because so many people can relate to, you know, what you're doing, and it takes a lot. You don't have to do this. Neither one of us getting a check for this, so you didn't have to spend your night listening, watching my snot come out of my nose. You didn't have to do that. So, you know, we appreciate you too. I can't put no hearts because I'm on here, but we appreciate you too, because it's important to have these conversations. So God must have wanted us to have this.
Yeah, God needed this. God has pushed you into this tonight. Even again, you've been called again. So I definitely commend you, and I thank you so much for those kind words. And I'm gonna go back and pray and cry.
Girl, you and me both.
be more. And actually, after that, I'm gonna work out, because that's that inspiration. When you go through it, it's like, all right, let's go. It's time to keep moving, because you go through this, and it's like when you hear the next person's story, the power that I feel right now. I mean, it's I'm hype. I'm ready to move, because it's another story of perseverance. We can make this turn our pain into progress. Okay, we don't have to be stuck in our situations. So I'm thankful, and I'm thankful for you coming on this evening. And you have an amazing night. And please connect with Styles by Nook. I will put your link.
They're saying save this live.
I sure will, and I'm gonna I'm going to put your link into the caption, so we'll be able to connect with you there. So thank you so much.
No problem.
Okay, have a blessed evening. All right, you too.